The foundation of Stoic wisdom begins with a simple but powerful shift in awareness, understanding what is within your control and what is not. Most people live their lives emotionally entangled in things they cannot influence: the opinions of others, unexpected events, past mistakes, or future uncertainties. This constant mental struggle creates stress, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. Stoicism teaches a different approach. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, it directs attention inward. The only real domain of control is your own mind, your thoughts, your interpretations, your decisions, and your actions. Everything else exists outside of direct influence and should be accepted with calm awareness rather than resistance. When a person truly embraces this idea, their entire way of thinking begins to transform. Situations that once triggered frustration start to lose their emotional weight. External events no longer dictate inner peace. Instead of reacting impulsively, there is a pause, a moment of reflection that creates space for clarity. This mental discipline builds strength over time. By consistently choosing to focus only on what can be controlled, emotional energy is preserved and redirected toward productive actions. Problems become clearer because they are no longer clouded by panic or overthinking. Decisions become more stable because they are rooted in reason rather than reaction. This principle also develops resilience. Life will always present uncertainty, but Stoic awareness removes the illusion that everything must be controlled to feel secure. Security comes from within, not from external stability. Once this is understood, even difficult situations become manageable because the mind is no longer fighting reality, it is working with it. In essence, this first Stoic principle is not about limiting life, it is about freeing it from unnecessary mental burden. It teaches that peace is not found in controlling everything, but in mastering the way you respond to everything. Emotional mastery is one of the most important yet misunderstood principles in Stoic philosophy. It does not mean becoming numb, distant, or disconnected from feelings. Instead, it means developing the ability to understand emotions without being controlled by them. Emotions will always arise. They are a natural part of human experience, but Stoicism teaches that they should inform your awareness, not dictate your actions. Most people react instantly to how they feel in a moment. A single comment can create anger. A small disappointment can turn into frustration. A temporary setback can lead to overthinking and doubt. In these moments, emotions take the lead while logic steps aside. Stoic practice interrupts this pattern by introducing a pause between feeling and action. This pause is where true strength is built. It allows reflection. What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? Is this emotion based on reality or assumption? More importantly, does acting on this emotion move me toward wisdom or away from it? These questions create distance between impulse and response, and in that distance, control is regained. With consistent practice, emotional discipline becomes a natural habit. Instead of reacting immediately, the mind learns to observe first. Anger softens into understanding. Anxiety becomes awareness. Frustration turns into problem solving. The situation itself may not change, but the internal experience of it transforms completely. This mastery also strengthens relationships and decision making. When emotions are not in control, communication becomes clearer and more thoughtful. Actions become intentional rather than reactive. Mistakes decrease because choices are no longer driven by temporary emotional storms. Over time, emotional mastery builds a quiet but powerful form of confidence. It is not loud or dependent on external approval. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens externally, the internal state remains steady. This stability is what allows a person to move through life with clarity, patience, and resilience, even when circumstances are unpredictable. Detachment from external validation is one of the most liberating principles in Stoic thinking. Yet it is also one of the hardest to practice in modern life. People naturally seek approval through attention, recognition, praise, or acceptance. At first, this may seem harmless, but when self-worth becomes dependent on external opinions, it creates emotional instability. A single compliment can raise confidence, while criticism can completely break it. Stoicism challenges this dependency by shifting the source of validation inward. Instead of measuring worth through how others respond, it encourages a deeper focus on character, intention, and personal values. When a person knows they have acted with honesty, discipline, and integrity, external judgment loses its control over their emotional state. This shift creates emotional independence. Praise no longer creates overconfidence, and criticism no longer leads to self-doubt. Both are simply feedback, not definitions of identity. This mindset allows a person to remain steady regardless of how others perceive them. As this awareness grows, a quiet confidence begins to form. It is not built on attention or approval, but on consistency of action and clarity of self-understanding. There is no need to constantly prove worth or seek reassurance because self-respect is no longer outsourced to others. This detachment also improves decision-making. When choices are made to please others, they often lead away from personal truth. But when external validation is no longer the driving force, decisions become more authentic and aligned with long-term purpose rather than short-term approval. Over time, this creates a strong internal foundation. Life may still bring praise or rejection, acceptance or misunderstanding, but none of it destabilizes the mind. The sense of self becomes anchored, not in how the world reacts, but in how consistently one lives according to principles. This is where true confidence begins, not in being approved, but in no longer needing approval to feel complete. Daily discipline is the quiet force behind every lasting transformation in Stoic philosophy. While motivation can inspire momentary action, it is discipline that builds a stable and resilient life. Stoicism emphasizes that true strength is not created in dramatic moments, but in the small, repeated choices made every single day. Each day presents countless opportunities to either act with intention or drift into distraction. The disciplined mind chooses intention. It begins the morning with awareness rather than chaos, sets direction rather than reacting to circumstances, and maintains focus even when external conditions are uncertain. Over time, these small decisions accumulate into a powerful structure of stability. This discipline is not about rigidity or perfection. It is about consistency. Even simple practices, such as pausing before reacting, choosing thoughtful responses, or staying aware of one's thoughts, gradually reshape the way a person experiences life. What once required effort becomes natural. What once felt difficult becomes instinctive. Through repetition, discipline builds mental endurance. Just as physical strength is developed through consistent training, mental strength is formed through repeated control of thoughts and actions. Each time a distraction is resisted, focus becomes sharper. Each time an emotional reaction is managed, inner stability grows stronger. This daily practice also creates long-term clarity. Instead of being overwhelmed by uncertainty, the disciplined mind develops structure. Priorities become clearer. Energy is directed more efficiently. Life feels less scattered because attention is no longer constantly pulled in different directions. Most importantly, discipline builds trust within oneself. When a person consistently follows through on their own intentions, self-respect deepens. There is no reliance on external motivation or validation because the habit of action becomes internalized. In this way, daily Stoic discipline is not just a routine, it is a form of self-mastery. It transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for growth and slowly shapes a life that is calm, focused, and resilient from within. Stoic wisdom ultimately leads to one clear truth. Real strength is not found in controlling the outside world, but in mastering the inner world. Life will always remain uncertain, unpredictable, and at times difficult, but a disciplined mind is never easily shaken by these external conditions. When a person learns to focus only on what they can control, emotions become stable, thoughts become clearer, and actions become more intentional. Through emotional mastery, external detachment, and daily discipline, a deeper transformation takes place. Reactions turn into responses, confusion turns into clarity, and dependence on external validation slowly fades into self-respect. This is not an overnight change, but a gradual process built through awareness and repetition. The Stoic path does not promise a life without challenges. Instead, it promises the ability to face those challenges with calmness and strength. It teaches that peace is not something found in perfect circumstances, but something created within, regardless of circumstances. When these principles are applied daily, life becomes less about emotional chaos and more about purposeful living. The mind stops being a victim of every external change and becomes an observer that responds with wisdom. In this state, even ordinary moments carry meaning, and even difficult moments become manageable. In the end, Stoicism is not just a philosophy, it is a way of living with dignity, clarity, and resilience. It builds a character that remains steady in both success and struggle, and that is the true ancient secret. A mind that cannot be easily disturbed is a life that cannot be easily broken.